Today we're doing the Crash Course video, chapter 29. Let's see where we are in the world today. Looks like we're in the Pacific Ocean, where there's no land and there's only darkness. That's not the point.
During the interwar period, while America and many other first world countries were having parties, there was a series of revolutions, including the Boxer Revolution, the Latin American Troubles, and the Russian Revolution. Now it's time for the open letter. From Stalin, and there's nothing here. Where's the open letter? Guys! During the 1920s and 30s, known as the interwar period, there were many new changes and problems that occurred during this time. One of these changes was the Great Depression, and this led to many political systems and societal solutions to problems such as these. However, during this time, there was great resistance to European imperialism, and after World War I, Europe was still in recovery, and other outside powers such as the United States and Japan gained more economical strength, and European diplomacy was very shaky.
No more words out of you tonight.
Hello, my name's Hunter Pittman, and today on Survival we'll be talking about World War I and how Europe survived it. The effect after World War I had soured Europe's enthusiasm for the 20th century. There was psychological and mental impact on its combatants, much like Bear Grylls, as well as the incredible casualty count had a Great Depression on Europe's strength. Vast amounts of property damage and weakening and falling of some governments became a pattern in most of Europe's political system, much like the bear system I had to kill in 1983 when the bears attacked them. That doesn't make sense. I'm mentally out of Bear Grylls. Crap. Lost my place.
New forms of political problems arose after the war. One example was the rise of Benito Mussolini and his form of fascism. It took control of the government and allowed no opposition to have any power whatsoever. Many other European states were looking towards Western Europe for inspiration to gain the example of victory against the hostile communist regime of the Soviet Union. Also, many of the smaller European states began filling with nationalist excitement and becoming more diplomatically and economically hostile towards each other. Oh, it's 4:20. I gotta go. Johnny, you're on air.
Outside of the mess of European disarray, industrial societies like Australia and Canada began to rise, and the US used economic power to push itself into political isolation. Because these former settler societies of Europe gained independence, they began to independently create a strong economy, while also having good relations with the former ruling nations, no way subordinate to the rule. It also helped them build self-identity and to keep better control over their own affairs and issues.
What I tell you about speaking! Please stop making me read history. It hurts. It hurts.
Oh, what we're filming? I'm sorry. With the United States being the final extension of Western civilization, its economic size, population, and growing international roller coaster to become a more prominent figure in the world. However, the U.S. also increases its isolation from the rest of the world, with the exception of intervention in Latin America and hostility to the news of the Russian Revolution. There's a lot of revolutions going on, in case you didn't know, which also left the U.S. in the Red Scare. In the 1920s, U.S. economic and political activity increased. The economy boomed with doubling of industrial production, merging. I'm not done reading.
God, why do you guys always leave me with the job of mopping up these corpses?
I'm not dead yet.
Well then die! Are you dead yet?
Finish my paragraph.
Okay. God, I have to mop up the corpses and I have to do this stupid paragraph piece. In the 1920s, U.S. economic and political. I didn't know. Along with the U.S., Japan was rising in industrial power and was replacing its traditional feudal system with parliament. This government, like many others of its time, was un-American and would be tested with the Great Depression and World War I. However, progress was also made. Agriculture productivity slowly increased and new changes in government, cultural developments happened during the 1920s. Stress was put on the production of goods such as silk, since Japan's dependence on this was important and the drop in demand would provide terrible for economy. Also, the increase of population was another problem. The fact from the agricultural increase. In summary, Japan was experimenting during the 1920s with a liberal political pattern, but failed to accept new controls over the political parties and the military. My name is Cleveland Carl, and I'm out. Oh no!
There was a large wave of revolutions in other parts of the world, with some before World War I, creating a challenge for the growing industrial democratic powers, particularly of the Western world. This complicated the Russian dominance and suggested its growing vulnerability to the rest of the world. In Latin America, several events led to trans-African and devoted subsequent history. World War I forced many of the Latin American nations to become more independent, since the market for their goods had dropped, leaving them to manufacture equipment still needs. One example of how changing in Latin America was the reign of Porfirio Diaz. The government had large Britain with the middle class.
It's over. It's done.
Cletus is with you! I'm out!
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
In the arms of the angel, fly away from here.
From then on, the trio went on to kill each other, arguing over who does the next part of the history presentation. Though they weren't quite the smartest, or even in the competition, they will be missed dearly. By who is unknown, but they will be. And this presentation will go unseen by its creators, because of their sudden misfortune, so at least there is a bright side to this. By the time you're watching this, they're already above us, watching proudly as their creation is played at least once. Wait. Above? That doesn't sound right. Maybe below? Well, the point is that they're watching, and happy that their 10 minutes of fame are finally being played out for the world to see.